A while back I laid this paved path, but now there's only one problem. We've installed a new clothesline, and unless I extend the path, we'll at best end up with dead grass and at worst a boggy mess. Well, thankfully this is an easy enough problem to fix. I'm going to show you just how simple it is to use recycled bricks to pave a small pathway. First step is to mark out where I need the path. I'll start by lining up a straight edge with the existing paving and marking against that. Remember that at this stage it's all only rough. Time to get rid of the grass. With a spade, measure out about a blade's width from the marked line and then cut a line all the way around. Now, around a spade's width apart, cut lines across the whole area. This way your grass will be much easier to lift. Once the grass is out, use a mattock or a hoe to break the soil before removing much of it. In this case, I'm aiming for about 30mm below the bottom of my existing paved path. Use a landscape rake to roughly level. To check your excavated depth, just run a paver along the existing edge and make sure there's enough clearance beneath. Setting a string line is where you start to get a bit more accurate in set out. Take a line from your existing paving and run the string to the far end of the proposed path. Hammer in a stake, pull the string taut and tie off. At one end, make sure your line is sitting securely at the desired height. Then with a line level on the string line, move the other end of the line up or down the peg as needed to bring the line to level. Measure the width of your path at its start and then transpose this to the end, making sure that you project the line at a right angle from the string line. Set a peg, then run the line for the end and the other side. Check the second side line is level too. Measure your clearance at the start of the path and then spot check along the lines to make sure the depth is consistent. Now after taking the soil away, it's time to fill it back up again, but this time with paving or river sand. For this path I didn't feel I needed a subbed of road base. Use a rake to roughly level the sand and then a straight edge to screed it to a consistent surface ready for your pavers. Bring in the bricks. Stack close to hand and all along your work area to make laying easier. Well, after all the hard yakka, now comes the fun part, laying our brick pavers. It's as simple as grab a paver, follow your string line, put it in place, tamp it down with the magic rubber mallet, and then just keep going, following your string lines as you do. I'm using a basket weave pattern, and I am putting the edging in place at the moment, but I'm going to lift that later and concrete it in place. And a tip for you, keep a supply of paving sand close to hand, because sometimes, particularly when you're working with old sandstock bricks like these, there's variations in the thickness, so you might need to slip a little bit more sand underneath as you go. It's clear sailing from here. Just keep following your string line and keep your pattern consistent. Unless you are much cleverer than me, you'll need to split some pavers. Rather than using a messy and potentially dangerous angle grinder or brick saw, just use a good old-fashioned brickies bolster and a lump hammer. Back to that edging. It has to be fixed in place. Carefully lift your edge course out and clear out to about 30mm below the bottom of the pavers. In a dry wheelbarrow, make up a mix of sand and cement at a ratio of 1 cement to 3 sand. Blend this dry mix thoroughly before adding water a bit at a time and blending through. You want a nice sticky mix. Shovel the mix into the trench and set your paving into it, tamping down well. The trick for really holding the edging in place is to haunch some mix up against the sides. This effectively forms a frame holding the paving in place. The last thing is to sand the pavers. Sweep a fine washed sand back and forth until all of the gaps are filled. This stops the pavers from moving about. And I bet you're thinking I've forgotten something. The base of the pole. Rather than messing around sawing bricks into thin slices and cementing in place, I'll just fill the base with decorative river pebbles. Well, there you go, that wasn't so hard, was it? It only took me the better part of a morning to do it. The hardest part was the preparation, just getting things level and ready to go. It cost me less than $100 because I already had my pavers, and we've fixed our problem.
A fast and simple solution for easy all-weather access.